So hi, my name's Thomas Cubby. I'm a Senior Sales Support Engineer at Sony Electronics, and I'm here to tell you about a really exciting new product we have from Sony called the PXW FX9. So we'll start off, talk a little bit about the sensor, which is a 6K full-frame sensor with built-in AF. The sensor technology is quite remarkable. We're using a Exmor R sensor, which really means it's a backlit sensor, which really gives great sensitivity. So when you combine the size of the sensor and the Exmor R technology, you're looking at clean, beautiful images that can perform very well in low light, especially when you're using our new dual ISO. So our dual ISO is giving you now a choice between 800 and 4000. Moving forward, there's some really nice designs in the camera that, again, we've taken feedback from our customers in the field and made improvements. For instance, if you look at these buttons across the bottom, we have our standard ISO gain, our white balance, and our shutter speed that you would see on most of our cameras. But what we've done is we've tied that into this multi-dial that allows you to make adjustments right here from the outside of the camera rather than having to go into the menu system. If I move up here towards the top of the camera, again, something we kept, the electronic variable ND. 2 to 7 stops of ND without color shift, and that's accessible right here with these buttons. You don't even have to turn a dial, just select a button, it engages the ND filter. We still have our variable switch, and we've added an additional auto button. So this saves you, again, from having to go into the menu and make one of these assignable buttons over here, an auto button. It's all right here at your fingertips. So very smart and well laid out. From an audio standpoint, 4 channels of audio. However, we've added actually the extra 2 pots on the exterior, again, having to avoid going into the menu to make those adjustments. So the panel flips down. You can route your audio from a number of different sources. The hot shoe on top of the camera, the XLRs on the opposite side. So in addition to the audio improvements we have here, one big request we've had from our customers is the ability to do multi-camera shoots without having to add the XDCA. So again, we've listened to our customers and we've added time code and Genlock right here to the back of the camera. So huge upgrade in terms of what you can do right out of the box. Now this hand grip looks very familiar, but if you notice, this is something a little bit different. The grip itself is actually the grip from the FS5, which is a smaller, more comfortable grip and has the hand wrap. Additionally, there's now a new multi-connector here, which improves the communication speed between the lens. So you'll experience much smoother zooms with the kit lens, which I have right here. The kit lens is the SELP 28 to 135. It's a constant aperture f4. The LCD panel here is an improved LCD panel. It's brighter and has higher resolution. The resolution is actually 1280 by 720, which is pretty incredible for a small panel like this. So again, making your life much easier in terms of focus. And I did mention the autofocus system on this new sensor. It is using phase detection autofocus. So with phase detection, we're actually covering 96% of the imager vertically and 94% horizontally. In addition to the new fast hybrid autofocus system, Sony's developed a new way to stabilize your image. We built in a gyro into the camera, which the camera will then record in the metadata the stabilization information. This gives you the ability in post to choose how much and when to stabilize the image. Okay, so let's get into some of the other features of the camera, the basics, the frame rates and shooting modes and things like that. So the FX9 does have a full frame and Super 35 mode, and your frame rates will vary in those different modes. In the full frame mode, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to want to use for that super shallow depth of field, for that extra sensitivity, for that really beautiful bokeh that you can get, and for those extra wide angle shots that, you know, if you're in those small tight spaces, a full frame sensor is going to really bail you out. So in that full frame mode in HD, you can expect up to a 60p normal recording. When I say normal recording, other than a high frame rate recording. In UHD, initially they'll be up to 30p, so that includes 24 and 25p. And there'll be a firmware upgrade. There'll be several of those, so you'll hear that phrase a lot, firmware upgrade, but we will be delivering a 60p recording capability in that UHD mode as well with firmware upgrade. And then of course, there's going to be instances where you want to use this camera using the DCI spec for 4K, and we will be adding both 24, 25, 30p, and 60p through those upgrades as well. In the 60p modes for both UHD and DCI, it will be a crop mode. More details on that later. In the Super 35 mode, which will still be a very popular mode, it's really great, Super 35, for run and gun stuff where maybe you don't want that super tight, shallow depth of field, and you have lenses, existing lenses that are going to work really well for that. So in that Super 35 mode, 60p right out of the box, including 24, 25, 30, and in UHD, you'll have up to your 30p initially with a firmware upgrade to get to 60p, and then both on the DCI spec for the remaining those frame rates will be a firmware upgrade. So let's talk about high frame rate modes. In full frame HD, 120 frames right out of the box with 180 coming with a firmware upgrade. And in the Super 35 mode, you'll have HD up to 120. And in UHD, we're doing something pretty special here. In UHD, you'll have the ability to do a 4K, well, 4K UHD at 120 using our extension unit here. And again, firmware upgrade required, but it's going to be a continuous 4K 120. So I'm not going to get into every single feature of the camera. There's obviously those features that you're used to having in, say, like an FS7 series, so minimal frame record and things like that. But what I do want to talk about now is color. So what we've done is, using that same expertise from the Venice Color Science, we've brought to you what we call S-Cinetone. So essentially what that means, right out of the box, I'm able to set the camera, actually it's the default setting. So right out of the box, I'll have a color and a gamma that are going to give you that beautiful, natural, cinematic look with those beautiful flesh tones, nice roll off in your highlights, and you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to be an expert colorist or anything like that. Of course, you do have that mode in the camera as well. We still have the Cine EI mode where I can use my monitor, look up tables and such. But really, to simplify things for pretty much any professional, you can get beautiful color right out of the box. So now that we've discussed most of the features of the new FX9, I want to talk about a little bit about the accessories. It's a brand new accessory, the XDCA FX9. Slightly different concept than the previous camera, the FS7 series, having the XDCA FS7. Right off the bat, we know that the time code and gen lock's already built into the camera. We still have a time code out and a reference on the XDCA, but additionally now there's a slot in here for our DWX or UWP series wireless microphones. So now I've got options in terms of how do I want to bring my wireless audio into the camera. The camera itself has an additional card slot for saving files, user files and whatnot, but it also is capable of recording proxy video. Now, that proxy file can actually be sent through this interface to the wireless element of the adapter. So these two USBs here can house either a Wi-Fi or 5G dongle. So it supports our dual link system. There's also an RJ45 on the back side for hardwire connection, and I can transfer those files to an FTP server. I can also do a live stream from the camera. So a lot of flexibility in terms of I'm on a production, I want to get, I'm shooting high res, and I want to get files to my editor to get a production done quicker. Let them do the offline. I can send those proxy files to an FTP server. They can access those files and later on have access to the graded 16-bit RAW files. So it's a really nice workflow. On the back, no change here. It is a V-shoe mount, so your existing batteries will work just fine. AC power, and then there's, of course, the D-tap as well as a Hiroshi connector for powering your accessories. So as you know, Sony's become a very large player in the lens part of the industry, making a huge mark with our G Master series lenses. So we have some more great news. We're going to bring to the market a new series of cinema lenses that will incorporate the E-mount system, so you'll have that autofocus, power zoom, auto iris capability, but also those precise manual features that you would expect in a cinema type lens. Our first introduction to that series is going to be the 16-35 T3.1. So notice it's a T-stop now, which is very important for cinematographers to have that accurate aperture information. We've got full iris rings, full focus rings with marks, and a capability of using the camera with either a manual or servo zoom, which is fully mechanical on the manual side. If you'd like, you can even remove the motor and use the lens in its full manual mode. So to wrap things up, I'm super excited about the FX9. It brings back memories to our FS7 series camera and all the buzz in the industry that it created. And now with all these new features, the new full-frame 6K sensor with a fast hybrid autofocus system being the mainstay of the camera, but still expecting that same Sony quality, Sony color, the new color science that's been so popular with Venice and the FS5M2. Yet you still have all those great things that you would expect the camera to have. The ergonomics still being there with your viewfinder mount, your XQD memory, which has been a super reliable memory for the FS7 series and now the FX9 series. So data protection built in, affordable media that's very robust. And of course the electronic variable ND, which again has been something that only Sony's been able to produce now, especially with this full frame sensor. Sony's the only manufacturer to produce an electronic variable ND for a full frame sensor. And it's a very powerful tool that you'll absolutely love. So for more information on this amazing new camera from Sony, the Sony PXW FX9, click on the link below. You'll find detailed specs as well. My name's Thomas Cubby again, and it's my pleasure to share this exciting new information with you. Have a great day.